Buckle up, Buttercup. Live from Gloucester, Massachusetts. Podcasting around the world. You're listening to the GloucesterCast podcast, a production of Joey Shimataro and Good Morning Gloucester Media. Kick back, relax, and enjoy the show with your host, Joey Shimataro, and his crew of merry castaways. No piping plovers will be intentionally harmed in the production of this podcast.
We don't have an image here. There we go. We have an image.
We have an image.
We have an
We're here.
image.
Look at this.
GloucesterCast 572. We're live from the Crow's Nest. Thank you to Marianne and Greg, who have graciously let us, they're hosting us today. We will have Sebastian Junger on, the author of The Perfect Storm, which brought a tremendous amount of notoriety to the city of Gloucester, a lot of financial gain to the city of Gloucester. We am joined by, on camera two, we'll start with camera two.
Okay.
Pat Dalpiaz manning the notes. She's
With the pool table.
She's super excited for today's podcast.
For those of you who haven't been to the Crow's Nest, you get a nice pool table in the back. So come visit the Crow's Nest and play pool.
Yep, you can do that. Chris McCarthy's with us.
Oh, you missed him.
I understand that. You were speaking, and that's why I went with you. Jimmy Dalpiaz is with us.
Oh, there's Jimmy.
There's
Jimmy.
Good morning, Gloucester.
And I'm Chris McCarthy.
Are you?
I'm still upset.
Chris is upset because Sebastian Junger is not here. He feels like he was duped.
Good morning, Gloucester. I'm Chris McCarthy.
No.
Scotty Mack
I'm
is
Chris
looking.
McCarthy.
Scotty Mack is looking fresh as a daisy today.
Yeah.
Sharp. He's got a little color in his face.
I rested up for this moment. I too thought Sebastian was going to be here today,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but that's okay.
It's all right. Everybody's hazard pay. We get extra money.
I dressed up. I put on a T-shirt.
It's very slimming. Very slimming.
Black makes you look slim.
Yes,
Just
it
don't
does.
wear stripes.
Yes, it does.
Joey's got stripes.
We are fresh from our trip to Florida. Not Chris. Chris wasn't there, but Captain.
Sponsored by Reese's today.
No. Captain Chaos. Captain Chaos is in bouncing around. He's in Puerto Rico. For anyone that's Mike Coder, who was with us in Florida, who is like a moth to the flame for chaos, is taking a trek, which I mislabeled. I thought it was a 200-mile journey.
Yeah.
In a 32-foot sailboat. He has no sailing experience at all. He's the first mate. He's the only mate other than the 73-year-old woman captain. And they're going on over 572 miles from I forget what
Punta Gorda or something. Tortuga.
Tortuga to what?
To some Sandals Island.
Yeah, where recently 3 people found dead in a hotel room, and they think it was because of pesticides.
Spray, yeah.
And they like were found like one person on the toilet, one person in their bed. No signs of malfeasance.
Lots of bugs on the toilet.
Lots of bugs.
Pat, can you pull up malfeasance, please? I'm trying to figure out what malfeasance.
No, foul play.
You probably should get familiar with that word.
Yeah, around here you might want to get
Feces.
malfeasance as well. Good morning, Carol Perry. Good morning, Lynn Scannell. Good morning, Donna Artizzoni. Good morning, Joanne Wood. Good morning, Susan Casey Lipset. Good morning, Paula Ryan O'Brien. I love it when our friends chime in. I would be remiss
Yes.
if I did not mention
Let's hear it.
this coming Saturday
Yeah.
is the Luffin Blowout
Yeah.
5K family run / walk if you want to walk. It's going to be taking off from the visitor center. Pat, you still volunteer there?
Oh, yeah. Well, once the season begins at the end of May, yeah.
Yep. So they have so I need you to make sure that the Wi-Fi is up and running there, because we're not going to be able to live stream from there if we don't have Wi-Fi. Obviously.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I also need you to make sure that the Wi-Fi is up and going because I'll be DJing that event.
Oh, you will?
So I'll be streaming some music for everybody.
Oh, so we're not going to be able to podcast because if we have
It's
music
pretty
in the
reliable.
background.
Well, that's not true.
No?
I think you'll still be able to podcast because I'm doing like a warm up.
Oh, okay.
So people come get pumped up, they get excited, play some energetic music, get the blood flowing, get you ready for the walk or the gallop or trot, whatever you're gonna do.
Yeah.
And then I scale it back because there's nobody there.
Oh, I guess.
They're all walking.
Okay.
So we'll be doing some of that podcast stuff, and I'll work together with you on that.
Good morning, Ruth.
Morning, Ruth.
Ruth Pino.
Ruth
Pino's got to be part of the studio audience.
I also need Wi-Fi
Okay.
Saturday.
All right. I'll see what I can do.
All right.
So you're not on yet, so I can go over there and sit, right?
We are on.
Yeah.
We're
and you can-
live.
and-
You can
yeah,
go,
we're live.
But you can do whatever you like.
Yeah.
Okay. I just
Yeah.
wanted to- so-
Very
so,
fluid.
uh,
Very fluid
so you
show.
haven't talked to Sebastian yet?
No, he's going to be coming on in a few
All right.
minutes.
Okay.
So there's that. So
So
coming
that's
up,
at Stage 4 Park.
Stage 4 Park, you can go out to the bluefinblowout.com. They have the sign-ups right there.
And on their Facebook page as well. You can check out their Facebook page for any information.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's forecasting a beautiful weekend this weekend, like
Yeah.
70 degrees, warm, sunny.
Good boating weather.
Good.
Good bird watching weather.
Bird watching.
If you share the podcast, we have 12 beautiful golf balls that we're going to be
They're the best.
donating.
They're
Yeah,
the best.
slightly
Shot-
soiled.
shot
Slightly
ones.
soiled.
Shot ones. Why?
We'll curve
Are
into
these
the woods.
from the bushes at Bass Rocks from the last outing?
The butchers. Yes.
Yeah.
There we go. Is it Brian or Brienne Casso? Do we-
Brian.
Brian Casso is with us. Oh, she didn't say if she shared it. Lynn Scannell shared it though, which we like that a lot.
Lynn Scannell, happy birthday to Phil.
It's
Phil.
actually Phil.
Yeah, I
So
know.
happy
that.
birthday,
Yes,
Phil.
Happy birthday.
We know it's
Phil.
you and not Lynn. You're the person behind the moniker. Sebastian's going to join us. He's coming on in just a few seconds. I see he popped on he's in the green room right now, and he had the laundry list of demands that he had for the green room.
Yeah.
It was pretty.
Grapes.
It was pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Peel,
grapes.
he wanted the grapes peeled.
Peeled.
He requested a fluffer.
A nipple tweaker.
Nipple tweaker.
But we
No.
couldn't find a loofah for it.
Just no loofah.
We couldn't find it.
No loofah.
Because
Yeah.
they're all taken
And he
out.
requested all the M&Ms. You had to go through the M&Ms. They all had to be purple.
Yeah.
Purple, yeah.
Yeah,
A
purple.
lot of demands.
So
Similar
that-
to Jennifer Lopez.
Do they make purple M&Ms?
I don't know.
They do now.
Well,
I think he was hitting us on a wild goose chase.
They were the Easter ones. We had
Oh,
to get the old ones.
Yes.
All right, we're going to bring him on right now. Sebastian Junger is going to be with us. And here he is. Sebastian, good morning.
Good morning. Nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you as well. You recognize this place behind us?
I do. Yes, absolutely. Pretty amazing that you guys are there.
You spent a little bit of time here, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And the reason I should mention, the reason that we have you on today is we wanted to speak about your engagement. The 13th, is it, Pat?
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th at Cruiseport, and tickets are available. And my executive producer, Pat Dalpiaz, executive producer,
Promotion.
I got it from all.
will be putting the link. So the link is right there on the Facebook page for the Gloucester to benefit Gloucester 400. So are you in Gloucester as we speak?
No, I live in New York City. I'm in New York.
But you were so when will you come into town for the event?
We're coming in Thursday night. My little girl's in school, and so we're leaving about 2:30 p.m.
There you go. And so what I didn't realize, because I did a little bit of research, and what I didn't realize is that you were actually here in Gloucester when the Andrea Gale went down.
Yeah, that's right. I was living there on Eastern Point Road, number 33, I think it was. And I was working as a climber for tree companies, and including a outfit in Gloucester. And I'd hurt hurt myself really badly. I climbing. I was up in a tree and I hit my left leg with the chainsaw and tore open the back of my leg. And so I was recovering from that when the storm hit. And if you were there, I'm sure you were. It was quite an experience in Gloucester. And then I think the next day I heard that a local boat had gone down and had been lost. And I had started thinking about writing about dangerous jobs. And I thought, I don't know anything about commercial fishing, but I live in Gloucester, and maybe one of the jobs can be commercial fishing, and I can research what happened to this particular boat, the Andrea Gale, and why this storm was so bad. And I'd read in the Globe, Boston Globe, I think, that there were record-setting waves offshore. They were hitting 100 feet plus, and it just had all the elements of a dramatic and tragic story.
And from what I understand, you were actually in a Gloucester bar, and you were actually at this point in your career, you were just trying to get stuff published, right? Was it Outsider magazine that you had written a piece?
Yeah, I mean, Outside is a national level magazine devoted to the outdoors, and I hadn't that at the time, publishing even in a national magazine would have been a complete dream, right? I mean, I was writing small pieces for the Boston Phoenix and sort of local places like that, but I wanted to be a working journalist. I wanted to make my living as a journalist, and I just didn't seem to be able to do it. Hence the tree work, right? I mean, that's why I was 80 feet up in a tree 3 days a week or whatever, which was a job that I absolutely adored, by the way. Don't get me wrong. I really loved that job. But I wanted to be a working journalist, and I thought, well, that's not working very well. Maybe I should write a book. And so that's where the dangerous jobs idea came in. I was going to write about wildland fire, fighting wildland fire, which I've done. I wanted to write about being a war correspondent, a war reporter. And that sent me off to Bosnia during the Civil War. I was in the siege of Sarajevo, and I was actually there when I found out that my little book proposal that I didn't think would go anywhere about this storm, someone had actually bought it. And now I had to come home from Bosnia and in 1994 and write my book. And, the amounts of money involved were tiny, right? And it took me 3 years to write the book, but it was sort of a labor of love. And I never expected it to be the bestseller that it was. That was a real shock.
So the book, the timeline. So correct me on the timeline if I have it wrong. The Perfect Storm was in 1991. The book came out. The article in Outside Magazine was 94, and then in 1997, the Perfect Storm, the book came out, and then the movie came out in 2000.
Yes, that's correct.
And
that's exactly right.
So I was speaking with Greg Souza, owner of the Crow's Nest.
Yeah.
And he said that you had a very special relationship with Ethel Shatford.
Yeah.
And he said that you actually would call her occasionally, even after, writing the book and stuff like that. Is that right?
Yeah, she was an incredibly sweet lady. And, Gloucester can be a somewhat insular town, and I wasn't from there. I was very aware of that. I wasn't working in the fishing industry. I was very aware of that, and I was asking, about something very sensitive. I mean, a local boat that sank, disappeared, with local men on board, including the son of the lady behind the bar. It was very, very sensitive, and I was very aware of that. And so she didn't have to be nice to me, and she certainly didn't have to talk to me about something this tragic for her. But she did. She chose to. She trusted me, and because she trusted me, a lot of other people did. And I think there were probably some skeptics in town, but small town being a small town, and I don't blame those people. I don't know if I would have talked to me, but it was her welcoming of me that really made the whole town welcome me as a hopeful writer. I wasn't author yet. I was just a kid who wanted to write a book, right? And she,
Right.
so we continued. We had a wonderful friendship. And I was very honored by this. I was asked to speak at her memorial after she passed away. I was very honored by that.
Yeah. Well, Greg says that, she didn't take to everyone, but she took to you. And as she did not, another story he told us just a while ago was the book came out and a lot of people came to the Crow's Nest as a result of the book. And there was they call in the regulars would call them book people, the people that come in here, specifically because of the book, and later because of the movie. So Ethel was still working at the time, and someone went up to her at the bar and says, "Where can we meet Ethel?" And she's like, "I don't know. She's around here somewhere." And it's just kind of wild. But you did speak at her funeral service in 1999.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And I was very, very honored to do that. I have a funny sort of corresponding author story. So when my book came out, when The Perfect Storm came out, I was living in New York City, and I was working for a tree company north of the city, in a small town north of the city. And like 2 or 3 days a week, I'd drive up there. I had a pickup truck, and I'd drive up there and do a day's work and come back. And my book came out, and it's on the bestseller list, and it's going great. And I'm giving interviews, and I'm on national television, the whole thing. But meanwhile, I'm still doing tree work, and I showed up for a job. The company I was working for got a job in Yonkers, I think it was, taking a tree down, and I was the climber, and so I climbed this tree, took it down in this lady's backyard, and when I got done, I'm covered in sawdust and all that, and she comes out and she sort of thanks me for taking her tree down. I'm covered in sawdust and the chainsaw hanging off me and all that, and she said, "Has anyone ever told you look exactly like the author of this guy who wrote this book, The Perfect Storm? In fact, I'm reading it right now. It's on my night table." And I said, "No, that's me. I wrote the book." And she almost fell over.
That is hilarious. Are you? I have to think that you are aware, but are you aware of the financial impact that The Perfect Storm had on our community? And just a follow up, recently the Academy Best Picture was awarded to Coda, Children of Deaf Adults. We had the director. Sean Hayter on before we knew, was it 2 summers ago?
No, it was less. It was
Less.
21.
It was early, but we had
July.
no idea that it wasn't even in Sundance at the time.
It was they had one.
I think it was in Sundance.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
in Sundance, but we had no idea it was going to win Best Picture. But are you aware of the financial benefit and that what you gave to the city has done?
I mean, in a general sense, I've been told that tourism picked up, and but not specifically. If I help Gloucester at all, I'm thrilled. I mean, of course.
Yeah, I credit that movie and then the building of the Beauport Hotel as two huge landmark and lifting this city up. I would be remiss
Yes, you would.
if I did not ask you. We have for all our podcast versions, we have a 2-part question. It's called the Death Row Sub and Death Row Meal question, and you have to picture yourself on death row, and the warden comes in. He's going to get you two different meals. One is the Death Row Sub, and it's specific to a certain. We would like to know what the order is, and it has to be not home cooked. What place? What is the place that you're going to order it, and what is the order?
So what would I order for my last meal from what restaurant? Is that
As a sub? You
Oh,
know what
as a sub.
is?
Hero.
No, he's from Boston. He's from here, so he would know what a
He
sub
lives
is.
in New York. He's a Yankees fan now. He's a Yankees fan, so it's a hero.
I think I just order an Italian with with pepper and salt and oil and vinegar dressing. And I don't know who I'd order it from. I haven't lived in that area for a while, so I don't know who's gone under and who hasn't.
I know that there's pictures of Clooney and Wahlberg on the wall at Virgilio's Subs, and they have a famous St. Joseph sandwich there, which is an Italian. So we're going to put you down for that. And
That
then
sounds good. Side of fries, please. Thank you.
there you go.
Side of fries.
Death row meal. Any restaurant anywhere in the world. What's the order and what's the restaurant?
Oh my God. I don't eat out a whole lot, so I live in New York. What would I choose? I don't know.
This
There's
is
a
your
local
last. This is your last shot.
And there's a local Thai place that's pretty good, and there's right next to it is an Indian place that makes amazing mango smoothies. So mango lassis. I might have to go for the mango lassi and
Nice.
And chicken tikka masala on. I don't know. I don't know. You guys are catching me off guard here.
All right, that's all right. No problem at all.
Joe, if I could switch over to Pat for a second, we have a picture that's right here in the crow's nest.
Oh, hold on 1 second. Hold on, I'm gonna go like this.
When you walk in, this is one of the first pictures.
Right on the right-hand wall as you enter the front door. That's Pat. That's a picture. Do you recognize that guy?
I've never seen him. I don't know what that's doing on the wall. You guys need some better decor.
He's a great arborist.
With all your accolades, I mean, you're so. I mean, I would be remiss
Again.
if I didn't mention you have you didn't sit on your laurels after the movie. How many books have you published? And you've had big time success, and also a huge advocate for veterans and veteran services.
Yeah, well, thank you. I was, as I said, I was in Sarajevo before coming home to write my book, and I'd really been sort of captured by the idea of war reporting overseas on wars. And so as soon as I turned in the book manuscript, I went overseas on an assignment, a magazine assignment. I was starting to get them to Afghanistan. I was in Afghanistan in 1996. I watched the Taliban take over Jalalabad and the outskirts of Kabul. And then I just kept reporting on wars. And eventually, Afghanistan was a country I was very, very fond of. I was there many times. I was all over West Africa and the civil wars in West Africa. And then eventually, after 9/11, when American soldiers were increasingly sort of mired in Afghanistan, what looked like an easy win initially was an easy win. It didn't go that well eventually. And so I decided to embed with an American unit in Afghanistan. And eventually that became a documentary film called Restrepo. My buddy and I, Tim Hetherington, shot all the footage for that. And became my book War. And then I continued writing about some related issues in my book Tribe, and then my book Freedom.
There we go. The latest is Freedom. Oh, what did I have to take Pat off there? Okay, sorry about that. The latest book, Freedom, and I had a couple questions about that.
Yeah.
First of all, where are we? Oh, in what sense of the word freedom? Freedom can mean a lot of different things to different people. In what sense of the word freedom are you speaking about in the book?
Well, I'm taking it very literally. I mean, I'm avoiding and the word gets misused in the political arena all the time, and as does the word patriotism. So I'm avoiding all of that because I think it's a lot of sort of heated rhetoric and not much else. I'm really meaning it in a more fundamental sense. Like, how do groups of humans maintain their autonomy, their freedom, their ability to be self-defining and to live what they consider a dignified, autonomous life? How do we do that in the face of a greater power that would control us? What's interesting about human history, about the human species, is that smaller groups win all the time against larger groups. Smaller individuals, we're the only species where a smaller individual can literally outfight one-on-one, can outfight a larger individual. You look at primates, most mammalian species, it's the largest individual that wins the fight. Not so for humans, and that scales up very well. And sometimes they're good groups, sometimes they're bad groups. The Ukrainians should have been completely rolled by the Russians, but they haven't been. That trait gives all of humanity access to what we call freedom. The book's divided into 3 sections: run, fight, and think. Basically, the first way to maintain your autonomy is to outrun your oppressor. The Apaches did that for 300 years before they were finally cornered and put on reservations. If you can't outrun them, you're going to have to outfight them. And fortunately, that often turns out well for the smaller group. And if you can't outfight him, you're going to have to outthink him. And I look at the Easter Rising in Ireland, the labor movement in this country. There many examples throughout history of small groups that seem disempowered that actually eventually prevail. So that's what the book is about.
Is absolute freedom a fantasy? And there will always be shades of freedom in every person's life. But if you have young, how many young children do you have?
Two little girls, 5 and 2.
So what do you teach your children to set them on a path that leads them to the most free life that they can live? Are they too young to like understand these kind of concepts? Or what would you say that to other young adults?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't started the philosophy seminar yet with our daughters. We're working on it, but we'll get there eventually. No, but what I would say is, first and foremost, for our purposes, I mean, we have our some very basic human rights, individual rights, ensconced in our Constitution, in our laws. We're very lucky that we live in a democracy. A fair amount of the issue of freedom is taken care of in a law-abiding democratic state. Okay. I would say that the easiest way in a modern democracy like the United States, the easiest way to lose your freedom is to be addicted to something. Addiction is a terrible loss of freedom. Addicted to drugs, alcohol, social media is if you just think about freedom in terms of not being controlled by an outside force, addiction, and my book does not treat this, by the way. This is just a conversation right now. If you think about freedom as not being controlled by an outside force, you have to include addiction as one of the things to be struggled against. We don't have a television. Our girls don't have any screen time whatsoever.
Wow.
They're addictive. Yeah, I mean, at some point they will, and at some point they're going to smoke this first cigarette. Fine, but maybe not at age 5. That's how we feel about screens.
One would hope not.
And so, but more generally, I would say that humans, we do not survive alone in the wild. We die immediately. Humans survive and thrive because we live in groups. That is what makes us so extraordinary. We have language and we live in collaborative groups. And your survival depends on being part of that group. But if you're part of a group, you have to abide by its norms. That's the deal. And if you don't want to abide by its norms, you're welcome to walk off into the jungle, but you're not going to do very well out there. So what I've realized, and I looked at the Pennsylvania frontier as an example of this, the further settlers who were sort of streaming into what was called Indian territory, into the wilderness from the colonies, the further they got from the colonies, the freer they became politically because they were out of reach of the colonial authorities. But the more danger they were in, of course. The way that they dealt with that danger is by sort of banding together in defense collectives along the frontier, where there was an understanding that if there was violence on the frontier, if there were what were called Indian raids against the settlers on the frontier, that the settlers would collect together and fight together against the Indians to save their lives. And if you were not willing to do that, particularly as an adult male, if you were not willing to do that, you were not welcome in the society. You would be cast out. So as your freedom goes up, the level of danger you're in also goes up until you bind yourself to a group that can protect you and support you. And at that point, your freedom goes down again because you have to do what the group says to an extent. So freedom really is this constant juggling act between conformity and danger.
So what topics will you be speaking to when you're at Cruiseport coming up in a couple of days?
Well, my understanding it's a conversation, and so I'll answer whatever the questions are, and I hope they're varied and interesting. And there's really nothing I won't talk about. Unprompted, I would probably talk about how Gloucester, living in Gloucester, I only lived there for a couple of years, but it really, really changed my life. And I did all my research in Gloucester after I had moved out, but I was back there constantly. I would stay at the Crow's Nest, often, showing up pretty dirty from a day of tree work in Boston. And, I think, I want to make sure to talk about my incredible affection for your city, and my memories of that time. And, of course, what happened in the events that I wrote about in The Perfect Storm. I'm sure they're still vividly remembered in town. And I'd like to go back to all that stuff, but I'll answer whatever questions are thrown at me. So
Absolutely.
I have a short question. I just want to ask, when you were sitting over at, you said you went to the Crow's Nest, you're sitting at the bar covered in your sawdust. Did people say, like, did Ethel come up to you or a few others saying, hey, you got to talk to this one? Or were you invited to people's houses for the big dinners and to get all your information? Or you just sat there and listened what was going on?
Well, yeah, both. I mean, I didn't want to be the guy in the corner with a big notebook writing down everything everyone said. I didn't want to be creepy about it. So Ethel would say, hey, you should talk to this guy or that guy. He's he knew my son, or he's been offshore a lot, or, so Ethel was sort of my guide a little bit. And because she was recommending me to people felt comfortable talking to me. And so I'd really sit there with a notebook and, in a one-on-one conversation and sort of have a conversation and write notes as I went. I could write pretty fast. And sometimes I would say, hey, I just can't keep up with what you're saying. Do you mind if we meet some other time? And I'll bring a tape recorder and we can really have a proper conversation. And that would, once I got to know someone, it would sort of move to that level, and that worked very well. For me, accuracy is incredibly important, and you just can't be as accurate with a pen and notebook as you can be with the tape recorder. And sometimes people would come up to me. I mean, word sort of got around that I was working on this project, and people would come up to me and say, hey, I hear you're writing about the Andrea Gale. I crewed on her once, and whatever. So it was my first book. I was still learning to be a journalist, so I was feeling my way as I went. And mostly in that context, being a good journalist meant being a decent, honest person and telling people honestly what you wanted and hoping you get honest answers.
At the time, you should be noted, he wasn't famous at the time.
No.
So that must have been, and also what Greg had mentioned earlier is a lot of times you didn't want to be creepy with a notepad, that you'd hear a story or something and you'd run to the bathroom and write the notes in a journal. Is that true?
Yeah, I had a little notebook that fit in my back pocket, so I would sort of go to the urinal and scribble down something, at least so that I could remember it later and write it down more fully. And again, these weren't anyone's personal secrets. These are just observations I had or things I overheard that were interesting. And and I mean, not only was I not famous, as you said, I didn't even have a publisher. I mean, when I was first researching this, this was completely my own project. And someone would say, "Oh, who are you doing this for?" I feel like, I don't know. I hopefully someone will buy this. So
I'm a tree guy. I'm a tree guy writing a story.
You got to understand how sort of ad hoc this was.
Wow, yeah, and people probably don't realize it. Scotty had a question for you.
Good morning again, Sebastian. I had the opportunity to meet you years ago as one of those guys. I am not a fisherman, but as you know, a lot of people tell fishing stories, and the game of operator goes around and certain accountabilities and stuff. Could you take us basically through the process of how you figured what was factual and what was fictional? And could you spot a storyteller like like right away?
A storyteller in a good sense or a bad sense?
No, somebody that was not
the
accurate.
fish was this.
This gotcha. Well, as a journalist, you have to verify everything. You need to source everything, and it was something that I couldn't source. If someone said, "Yeah, 5 years ago, Bobby Shatford said this to me," obviously, there's no way to confirm that happened. But in the book, what I can say is Joe remembers Bobby Shatford saying X. And then I'm signaling to the reader, look, I can't confirm this, but this is his memory. And of course, if I think Joey's exaggerating, it's not going to go in the book. And that sometimes is more hunch than anything else. But I mean, you sort of do your best. What you must never do is pass off something that you're not sure about as something confirmed. And obviously, you can't pass off something as reported as true if it's made up. I mean, and that means you can't make things up, right? So the Andrea Gale sank without a trace. No one has any idea what happened in her last hours and minutes and seconds. And I didn't claim to know either. But what I was able to do was talk to other people that had survived catastrophic sinkings, that had survived these events. And they could say, well, I bet what happened on the Andrea Gale was this. And so then I have an informed person who survived a similar thing telling me what their best guess was about the Andrea Gale. And I had a lot of data from wave heights and meteorological data. So basically I'm saying to the reader, look, we don't know, we'll never know. I'm not going to claim to know, but this is people's best guess about how it probably happened. Or maybe it was like this or possibly like that. So you're sort of serving up a kind of like menu of possibilities rather than claiming absolute knowledge.
And to that point, when the movie comes along after the book, did they bring you on for a technical advisor, or since you did most of the research and stuff, like how involved were you there?
I was not super involved. I mean, the last thing that a movie director wants is the writer standing behind him saying, "Yeah, hey, just a second, it wasn't quite like that. Like that nightmare. Like they basically buy your story and then tell they don't quite tell you to get lost, but they hint at it heavily.
Does that tend to hurt a little bit, or is it
No, I mean it's not my story, right? I mean it's a story that happened. It's Gloucester's story, right? It's Ethel Shatford's story. It's not my story. Yeah. I did my best to communicate the story journalistically, and they did their best, and I believe they really did do their best to communicate that story in a sort of narrative fiction movie format. Who am I to say that they're not that they were sort of wrong on something? They had to show what happened. I didn't have to as a journalist. They had to show something, right? So I'm not going to second guess them. Mostly, my main concern was that they be respectful of the industry and of the people in town. Not treat this story lightly. I mean, 7 people died, and a lot of people suffered in this, and they were respectful on all counts. And they had everything I knew about that story was in my book. They didn't need me as a consultant. I put it all into the book. So I think they did have experts that helped them with some technical things, knowledge that was beyond what I had. I'm just a journalist,
Thank you. I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
Overall, they were wonderful people. I really enjoyed the time I spent with them.
Do you have any? So here's a question from Paul Gamber. Any books going to film soon or in the works?
No books going to film soon.
Okay. Another question from Carol Perry. Do you have any plans to write fiction?
Fiction is it's incredibly hard. I worry that I'm not a good enough writer to write a good novel. But that said, I can see in my older years as I after 2 knee replacements and whatever, if I'm less mobile, I can imagine turning to fiction many years from now. But right now, I'm still pretty spry. So I think I'll stick with journalism.
I'd like to mention Connor McCarthy, Chris's son, shares with us that War was a required read at St. John's Prep for a class called War and Peace. Truly inspirational real-time experience, he writes. So I just wanted to share that.
Wow, that's nice.
We have Ruth Pino with us. Can I have Ruth come in? Sure. Ruth Pino was one of the main people that is in charge of Gloucester 400, who are actually having you come in for this talk at Cruiseport. Pat Talpiaz is going to put a link to the Eventbrite so people can actually purchase the tickets. But Ruth, whose idea was it to bring Sebastian in?
Well, collectively, we all thought Sebastian should be here. We wanted him here. He represents everything good about Gloucester. And I came here this morning because I'm so grateful to you, Joey, and to the rest of your crew, and to you, Sebastian, for doing this morning to promote the event that's taking place this Friday.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great event. And the tickets are. So if you're on the Facebook, and we'll put this on Good Morning Gloucester as well on Facebook. That's a note in the comment section, so you can click on that note and buy tickets for the thing. What are you most looking forward to Friday night, Ruth?
Meeting Sebastian in person. I never had the pleasure. And just the response, I think, from people seeing him and hearing him speak about Gloucester. And, wherever you live, you take things for granted. So listening to Sebastian is so nice to have such positive memories and remarks. And we all feel the same way. So we're grateful to you for coming.
We should mention that, this is a story. There's 7 men lost without a trace. This isn't the only boat with lost people and family. So if you were born in this town, just about everybody knows somebody that was lost. I lost my uncle and his crew, the Captain Cosmo, and I remember sitting in my aunt's house with my cousins. They were young boys. I don't remember, I think I was probably like 8 or 9 years old, and we were just glued to this old television because there wasn't the internet, obviously, and we were just hoping that there would be a Coast Guard report that they found the boat. And, the way this kind of thing works is over the course of days, hope kind of fades, right? You're like, okay, there's hope. They're sending out the planes to try to find them. And then, the second day, you're a little bit more frightened. And then, my cousins were, one younger and two a couple of years older than me. It's just the most gruesome thing for a family. And so this story, The Perfect Storm, it's about these guys, but it touches so many in the community. That's why I think this event, when people are going to actually be able to meet Sebastian in person, and after the impact it's had on our town, is just unbelievable. And I understand, the Shadford family and all the families that are involved, but it touches.
It's
so
all
many.
of us.
It touches
On my
everybody.
Irish side of the family, there were many losses in the late 1800s, and their names are on the cenotaph down at the Man at the Wheel statue. So loss at sea has impacted all of Gloucester for hundreds of years.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Sebastian, have any of other families reached out to you to explain, their loss and their pain, after the book was written?
Oh boy, I'm trying to remember. This is now quite a while ago, 25 years ago or so. There were some families that were a little more private when I was doing my research, and then after the book came out, I think there was some more communication. I honestly can't quite remember. I think for the most part, people thought the book was accurate and respectful, and some of the skeptics, I think, sort of might have breathed a sigh of relief, like, "Oh, that was good. I could have trusted that guy. This is a good book. This is an honorable book." But I don't remember specifically. And I should say that I went on to working for many years as a war reporter, including with not exclusively, but including with American forces. And of course, if you report on war, you're reporting on loss. They're one and the same thing. And so I've many times found myself in a similar situation of having to be very sensitive and respectful of someone who was missing a husband or a son or a brother or what have you. But that work has to be done. I mean, if the people who are grieving loved ones don't explain what it's like to lose a loved one, we'll never know. And maybe we won't make wise choices about how to use our young people overseas. So it has to be done, but it has to be done very, very respectfully.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Again, we're going to share that link You can stay there, I think there. But we're looking forward to seeing you Friday night. It's going to be a great event. If I get to make it, I'll buy you a beer. I don't think you need me to buy you a beer. I think there'll be plenty of people to buy you a beer. But we really appreciate you coming on. We'll have links to your. Oh, we should also mention the book that's coming out. Can you just give a little, just a brief synopsis of what the book that you're working on right now that's coming out?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of years ago, I mean, I'm just doing the research now. The book does not have a publication date. I haven't even written it, but I just a couple of years ago, I had this crazy medical crisis. I had an undiagnosed aneurysm in my pancreatic artery. It's very, very rare. It was the result of a congenital abnormality that I didn't know I had, and these things are deadly. They're really, really dangerous. And it ruptured out of the blue. Just one day it ruptured. And I started bleeding out into my own abdomen. Abdominal hemorrhage is, it's a real killer. And it's very, very hard to treat. They rushed me to the hospital. Took an hour and a half to get to the hospital. And, basically I was minutes from dying and they saved me. And I had a very strange experience when I was on the threshold of life and death. I didn't know I was dying, but I knew something pretty intense was happening. And I should say I'm an atheist. I'm not religious. And my father was a physicist, and he was an implacable rationalist. And he only believed in things that he could measure and quantify and prove or disprove. And as I was dying, a big black pit opened up underneath me. I was getting pulled into it. And I said to the doctor who was working on me, he was cutting my neck open to get a line into my jugular. I needed 10 units of blood because I was basically out of blood. I said to the doctor, you got to hurry. You're losing me right now. I'm going. And as I said that, my dead father appeared above me and opened his arms to welcome me. I sort of waved him away. I didn't want to have anything to do with him. And they managed to save me. It took a long time. I almost didn't make it. But then, the next morning I woke up in the ICU and they told me I'd almost died. And I remembered seeing my father. And I started researching near-death experiences. And it's very, very common to have the experience that I had. And I'm really, really curious about it. And I'm trying to understand it and explain it. So I'm writing a book that I think will be called Pulse, so, about what happened to me and what happens when we die, and what might be happening that we don't quite understand yet.
Wow, that's going to be pretty intense. I know in the movie, you in the book you describe the sensation of drowning, and very similar kind of a eerie, kind of creepy thing to think about, but very interesting nonetheless. So thank you again so much for coming on. We really appreciate your time, and we can't wait to see you on Friday.
Can't wait to be there. It's been a while. Thank you all very much.
All right, we'll see you, Sebastian.
Thank you, Joey.
Hey, God, we're not. Sebastian's in the green room right now, but we're going to go on with our. We have a few more topics to talk about. I just didn't want to bore him with these mundane Gloucester items.
Totally understand. So
Yeah.
I'm so glad I came, and thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
for coming.
I know
Thanks for
audience.
bringing him in.
You needed an audience.
You need
We needed an audience. That's right. That's
Always
right.
better with an audience.
We are.
Joe,
Yeah.
I had a few questions for him. So now I have to go Friday.
Why didn't you ask the questions?
I tapped you.
When did you tap me?
I said I have a few
When I
questions.
was rustling my papers.
No. I woke up at 7:30
So you have to
this
go
morning.
Friday now.
I woke up at
Matt, how many
7:30 this
questions
morning
did you
not
have?
to be given the opportunity to ask a question.
And
Pat
you had
didn't even
questions.
have a question. Joe, you're
Mine
gonna.
are on the list, and they got mostly got covered.
Yeah,
Well, mine
I was
didn't, Pat.
starstruck. I think.
You can-
You were in the zone. That was a great interview.
Yeah.
I wonder if he heard
Oprah
Gloucester-
Winfrey has
I wonder
nothing
if he's
on
heard
Joe.
Gloucester till the end.
Huh?
Gloucester till the end.
Oh
Of course.
Jesus, that would have
I
been.
was
yeah.
going to bring that up.
That
but-
was
You
one
know
of our
what?
questions.
We should bring a boombox and have Scotty Mac play it in the background on
I
Friday.
was going to ask him about his restaurant and bar ventures. He owned a restaurant and bar in New York City.
I fucking
But don't worry, Joe. Don't worry.
total failure.
Those aren't the important questions.
Why didn't you put them in the show notes? That's why we have show notes.
Because I went to notes, iPhone notes, and there was nothing there. You told me that we're going to iPhone notes, and there's nothing there.
iPhone notes.
Code's chiming in from Puerto Rico.
I know we miss out, but
Old San Juan.
I hope he's okay. I want to do a shout out to Heath and the crew of the schooner Thomas Lannon that started its season yesterday. To book tickets, www.schooner.org. Did you know that there is? Oh wait, I got to go to the graphics here. Did you know that there is a? Oh, I want to hear this. This is a topic right here. So Pat, can you put the graphic up of what you know where I'm going to go, right?
I think so.
Is Jimmy in on this?
No, you said not to.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll do it.
Sorry, I was doing this.
That's all right. That's all right. Jimmy, pronounce the name of this candy.
Reese's Pieces.
Okay, how do you pronounce this candy?
Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces. I say Reese's Pieces. What do you say?
Reese's Pieces.
Pieces.
Do you? Okay, wait. You're
I
acting.
do, it's what the word is. That's why.
But how have you always said? Have you said without prompting and looking at this? Have you said I've always called it Reese's Pieces?
It's never dawned on me to call it.
That's what I always call it.
Reese, you said Reese's Pieces.
No,
That's
I
what you
said
said.
Reese's Pieces. Look,
We have the tape.
We're gonna
I
mark
don't know
the
what
tape.
I don't know what he.
We're gonna mark the tape
What's behind this?
because everybody says we're gonna go back to the tape. We're gonna rewind it. When people say it, and I've heard it a million times, people don't say Reese's Pieces. They say Reese's Pieces. I've heard it a million
like
times.
Pieces because you're saying Reese's.
Right.
I cannot say I've heard
I want to
that.
hear
No.
from I want to hear. We have a bunch of people still watching.
Sorry,
I
we
want to
are.
hear how people say it.
hey, from New York, we say it that way, okay?
See, Nicole Schraft is an honest person. She says Reese's Pieces for sure. She says it as well. But there's some of us that want that are.
So you're casting aspersions on
Well,
our,
Jimmy just said I've always said Reese's Pieces,
Yeah,
not Reese's Pieces.
that's right.
Greg, how would you pronounce it, Greg?
I'd like to think I'd say pieces, but the pieces thing, it's not so much, it's just, it sort of flows off the
It's
tongue
subtle,
more
yeah.
easily. Yeah.
That's right. See, he's an honest man. There's an honest man. Some people want to seem elitists.
Amber agrees with
Some people want
Amber's
to see-
agreeing with you right here.
Right.
The Reese's Cup, a candy bar, by the way.
Oh, that's a good one.
Candy bar.
That's a good one.
It's a cup.
It doesn't say bar, it says a cup.
Right. I agree with
That's a
you.
good point.
That's true.
I just wanted to do a shout out to the Crow's Nest. If you don't have any swag
The
from
merch.
the Crow's Nest, I'm sporting my Crow's Nest sweatshirt this morning. Vintage. Oh, is this considered vintage?
Do you have any stock right now, Greg? If someone.
Plenty of stock, except another one Christmas. This is now a classic.
Oh, nice. I didn't
Kate
know
has,
that.
Kate has my
Nice.
father-in-law, Buzzer Foley has one. We got him for Christmas. Great Christmas presents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great shirts, hats. You got hats, yeah. Hats. Tank tops for the women.
Gamber says he'd like to shout out Chris's Bonza today. And
That's the sweatshirt.
Coder
That's
wants
the
to,
sweatshirt
Coder
that's
wants to
making
know
me
if
look
that's a
heavy.
medium that you're trying to put into a medium.
Oh, that's coming from a guy who tries to stuff a watermelon into a small shirt. Freaking Coder. We had to look at his boobs the entire trip.
Okay, here's a question. You're at a say upscale outdoor that's 3/4 of the way. There's one of the walls is open to the outside, but it's fancy. Would you roll up to the bar? It's not just a bar; it's a restaurant and bar with your boobs hanging out, or would you put a shirt on going up to this bar?
Oh, definitely. You put a shirt on and
Coder
definitely go check your shoes and make sure your
went
stuff isn't hanging out of the shorts.
Coder
you
went
know?
tits out the whole week.
Boobs.
Boobs out the whole
Man
entire,
boobs.
man boobs. with no shame. I would love to
They're
get.
water balloons.
I'd like
they
to
look
get
like
to
water balloons.
I'd like to get. Yeah, the sandbags. They're the ones that like the boobs face downward.
Yeah.
And why are you worried about it in the water? It should be fine.
Well, this wasn't the water. This was at a restaurant, a bar, one of the finest beach clubs in
I'd like
Florida.
to get to a point where I'm self-confident enough to go into a nice facility like that with my saggy tits hanging out.
Boobs.
Boobs. Oh, what did he say?
That he's coming up from the beach and he was wet.
But he never put the shirt
Another
on.
reason not to go into a fancy bar if you are just returning from the beach. And
Captain
wet.
Mike, by the way, we do have a new name for you. It's called Captain Chaos. If you'd like to type in your exact location right now, we could share Mike's. Oh, I don't have the
that's
link
right.
right now. We would have been able to share his. How many miles, Mike, did you travel yesterday? Because he's in Puerto Rico now. I thought he told me that he was not going to see land from when they left the original spot, but maybe Kodesh says he was exfoliating. He was exfoliating.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's that. Bluefin Blowout Family Fun Run, Family Fun 5K, Sunday, May 15th, 8:30. We will be broadcasting live.
DJ Scotty Mac will be there.
DJ Scotty Mac will be within there, but we're going to be live streaming this Sunday. We're going to go on a little early. I think it starts at 8:30, and we're going to be at the Visitor Center in Stage Fort Park. So there's that, which is okay. Yeah, Mike just shared his location. Do you know how to share the screen, Pat? Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. I don't know if I can click on this link. No, I can't.
It's in the notes and people can click on it.
Yeah, you can see exactly. You can follow Mike's journey, and if the blip goes off the screen, that means he sunk and died. There was a couple people that were very concerned that they didn't get the tone of our when we got his last rights on when he was leaving us, and there were a couple people chimed in very concerned about Mike's well-being. But I think he's in good hands personally. This next graphic is how I know personally that we are close to the end of civilization as we know it. Heinz came out with a mayo Oreo flavored mayonnaise, and this is how I know that the end is near. The end is definitely near.
What do you put that on?
What would you? I'd like to hear from our viewers. What would you put Oreo flavored mayo on? What would you like?
Reese's Pieces.
Reese's,
I try it.
Reese's Pieces.
Pieces.
Reese's Pieces.
Yes. Potato.
So there's that. Which is nice. Another topic. Phil Mickelson has over $40 million in gambling losses over a 4-year period. Now, when I see Phil Mickelson, he seems like the most put together, family man, kind of normal, button down, all American guy. And do you know is there anything more to the story? Do you know anything about this?
No, it's still being investigated, but
What
I
was
was
he gambling?
all kinds of stuff.
All.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
wasn't like Pete Rose, just baseball.
Yeah, no, I don't think he was betting on golf. But he was also I think they're still investigating it, or it might be a closed investigation about stock trading, insider trading information, and so it's too bad. You look at a guy who has been a fan favorite for years, and he's got some demons.
He's got some demons.
Kodesh
says he's being
innocent.
fined.
Yeah, innocent until proven guilty. He's also one of the players that is thinking about leaving the PGA Tour and joining this tour that a bunch of rich men in Dubai are establishing, and they're trying to lure players from the PGA Tour to this new tour, and they're just dishing out millions and millions of dollars to get them to flip. And maybe Phil is doing the flip because the Saudis are saying, hey,
It's a lot of money.
We'll pay
Well,
your debt.
yeah.
I listened to a little bit about that that other tour, that alternative tour with all the money and stuff. And from what I understand, a huge bulk of the players that are going to that alternative tour are people from Europe and not from the United States.
Yeah, but they're trying to get
Some big
the big name players from the United States because that's going to make that tour successful. If they just get a bunch of Europeans or international players, I don't think it's going to be as successful as they want.
So you
And
thinking
Gamber
about
is
it?
saying that Mickelson was probably a fourth liner on his school's hockey team. He actually was, and that's why he's a great golfer. Any fourth line hockey players are now outstanding golfers. So thank you for pointing that out, Paul. We appreciate it.
I was gonna say, you thinking about this Dubai tour?
I'm looking for a sponsor. I approached Joe to see if Good Morning Gloucester would sponsor me on the tour, and he said no. There's not enough funds in the kitty.
no money.
No money. We're a nonprofit,
Well,
tax exempt organization.
Maybe I
They
should
gave
give it.
Pat the
Maybe
raise.
I think we should put Chris and have him do a guest speaking gig at the cruise port. We'll sell tickets, and then you could take
Yeah.
that money and go on the tour.
Yeah,
That would be
let's do
entertaining.
it. Yeah.
High Noon, new flavors, kiwi and guava, and what else to report about High Noon?
Oh, they now come in 16-ounce cans.
16-ounce cans, which is going to be a big thing
So,
for the summer.
Yeah, big.
So 16-ounce cans are a little, and I mentioned this to some people when we were down in Florida, and they said, well, you're going to need to get some, like the different bigger koozies.
Right.
Because 16 ounce, unless you're a total professional, you're not guzzling them fast enough to enjoy them. As you know how I like my ice guy, big
Yes,
ice guy,
ice guy.
cold beverage
yes,
guy.
you are.
So I bet you there's going to be a whole new line of 16 ounce
Yeah.
High Noon koozie
Yeah.
Yetis come out,
Oh, that's right.
which will be worth it to buy.
Yeah, it's called the pool pack.
The pool pack.
Pool pack. They should have called it the ocean or the beach pack.
I talked to my nephew BJ. We went to Tono for Mother's Day yesterday. Had an excellent meal. You know what he said? He said that that there are certain Yeti tumbler colors that he is He used the word investing in because they're coming out in limited edition colors, and that they're like, he bought a cup last year that was $33, and they're selling them on eBay for $105. It was a crab red or crab pink or something like that.
Oh, it sounds like somebody we know with grills.
Yeah,
Sounds like
yeah. Maybe he's following in his uncle's footsteps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we had a hero to look after.
Yeah.
And said he knows how to do it.
Go there.
One mentor.
Hey, how's it going? There's one of our Good Morning Gloucester followers right there. How are you?
I
He's
have
got
to
the
excuse myself.
he's got the
have to go to
limited
work.
edition
Yeah,
sweatshirt,
the sweatshirt.
vintage.
Actually,
Vintage.
I might try to sell this on eBay today. Yeah.
So there's that, which is nice.
Don't forget to come down and get a bloody from Greg. Greg makes these unbelievable bloodies. No, they're out of tomato juice. They use
Pat, would you put up one more time the link to the to purchase tickets for the Friday night? Thing?
All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Some of us have to work.
Chris.
Must be nice.
Double. He double whammied me. Double whammied me. Pat is going to put a link once again for the Gloucester 400 event at Cruiseport Friday night.
The poster.
The poster. Oh, this is the prize too, right?
Well, forget the golf balls. Let's give the poster.
All right, we're going to give the poster away. This official Perfect Storm poster is going to be a prize. So I'm going to go on for another minute. For anybody that's watching right now, if you share the podcast, this official Perfect Storm poster, hardback poster, is going to be a prize if you share the podcast and we pick your name. So there's that.
Just put it down.
I'm going to put it down now.
Did I forget my keys in here?
No, it's sitting over there.
Oh.
So if you share the podcast, we're going to give you 1 minute to share the podcast, and you'll be entered to win that Perfect Storm poster. Well, see if it comes in clear. If it's clear, I'll have them come in. Okay. All right, Mike. Just try to come in, and we'll see if it's. If you're listening, Mike, try to come in, and Annie Rochon just shared it. We have another, so you can add Annie to the list of people that shared the podcast.
I hope all is well with Annie.
You're all fuzzy there. Pat's fuzzy.
Yeah. You got fuzzy, honey.
So Pat.
Yeah, look how fuzzy she is. And she's in the crow's
If
nest.
if she half depresses the shutter button, that would refocus on her. Look at that. She did it.
I thought we're in the crow's nest, and she might have.
Tina Grill just shared it. See, we got people. We should have mentioned it a couple of times during the podcast. All right. You have a pinned message? I didn't know we could pin messages.
Me too. If I did it, I didn't mean to.
What did you pin?
I don't know.
That's a new feature. Replying? No, unpin that. Yeah. We don't need to pin that. All right. All right. I think that might be the end of the sharing. Coder has yet to. I have not been able to get on the same page with him as far as
Right. It's been tricky.
chiming in. All right. How many people shared it, Pat?
There are 7.
7. Okay. So we're going to go to 1 to 7, unless anybody jumps in and shares it in the next couple
So
minutes.
is the poster and the golf ball?
No, there'll be two prizes.
Okay.
First person to chime in on which one they want. All right, so the first one,
Poster or golf ball?
I think they can see that. All right, and randomize. 5.
5 is Kathy Barlow, who is on her way to Gloucester as we speak.
Is that true?
That's what
Also,
says
she would
here.
be able to pick it up then. All right.
And,
Ed College just shared it.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay, I'm going to give Ed the number 5, so I don't have to redo it.
All right.
So if
Okay, that's good.
all right, here
Yep.
we go. Number 4.
4 is Paula Ryan O'Brien.
Paula Ryan O'Brien gets the golf balls. Kathy Barlow gets the poster. She just commented. All right.
Paula, take the golf balls for Ryan.
She's getting the golf balls.
She did share
Oh, okay.
that.
That's already-
She wanted the golf balls because that was before we even announced the poster that she shared it.
There you go. Very good. Very good. Thank you guys for joining us. Pat, great job as always as executive producer.
That's why there's no money in the account for Chris.
If you haven't shared it already, please share the podcast. We appreciate it. Jimmy Dalpia has a great job on the switcher today.
Thank you very much. Nice
You want to
be
do
back.
a little update on your stroke? You look better. You can drive a car now.
Getting around.
His numbers are improving dramatically.
So everybody that's worried about Jimmy,
Getting out there.
there you
folks.
go.
Thank you so much, everybody.
We will be. Don't forget Sunday. Sunday we're going to be Stage 4 Park.
I'll
yeah.
get you out of the rocking chairs.
There you go. All right, let me get the out music. I should get the Gloucester till the end and put that for an out music every
We
once in a
should bring
while.
that back.
All right.
Thanks to Chris.
The thing.
Little town with big news. 411 come get the scoop. Wake up with Joe and the rest of his crew. It's good morning, Gloucester, to you. Oh, it's good morning, Gloucester, to you. I say good morning, Gloucester, to you. Good morning, Gloucester, from